Prison officers operate out of sight of society. It is the most extraordinary, challenging profession. It requires unbelievable resilience for a prison officer to walk into a cell knowing on many days that the individual in that cell might have self-harmed or might indeed have killed themselves. It takes astonishing courage from a prison officer to confront a prisoner who is coming at them with a broken broom or coming at them with a toothbrush in which are embedded 9 blades. It takes astonishing decisiveness day in, day out from a prison officer to deal with the crises and emergencies that happen in our prisons. And it also takes great moral authority to act as a mentor, a teacher, in some ways a friend, in order to help prisoners on the path to reformation. And yet these individuals are now being attacked over 8,000 times in a year. Their jaws broken, sent to hospital, and these people must be protected, which is why we welcome this legislation on behalf of all the other emergency services, but particularly, in the few minutes that I have, on behalf of prison officers. An attack on a prison officer is an attack on the state. An attack on the prison officer is an attack on us. For the individual attacked, it affects the entire operation of the prison. Their willingness to take risk, their willingness to unlock a prison door, their willingness to allow prisoners to go to education or purposeful activity. The response that we have as a society to these attacks is now much more limited than it once was. Prison officers in the past were able to depend on penalties which we would no longer want to introduce. For very good reasons, corporal punishment, of course, has been removed. The use of solitary has been removed. The use of restrictions on family visits have now been removed. Therefore, the only serious sanction remaining when a prisoner assaults a prison officer is the law that we are discussing today, which is why we would like to encourage the police to work with us to prosecute prisoners who assault prison officers. We've heard today that there are very successful cases being brought for people who spit at police officers. There are almost no cases being brought forward for prisoners spitting at prison officers. Too often, I'm afraid, other parts of the criminal justice system seem to think it is acceptable to assault a prison officer when they would not feel it is acceptable to assault themselves. Let this House therefore be clear that we respect prison officers for their courage, for their decisiveness, for their moral example. Let this House be clear that all the progressive liberal instincts that we have on reforming prisoners have to go along with basic order and discipline. We should not be ashamed to say that prison officers should be able to exercise order and control, and that we need a whole package if we are to lead to purposeful activity. And that whole package is a package that involves proper searching at the prison officers' gates, making sure the drugs and the weapons are not getting into the prisons, a clean and decent environment where the windows are not broken, the floors are kept clean, where we make absolutely clear that we respect the safety of prison officers through the measures we're taking now, in terms of protective equipment, in terms of the right kind of restraints, in terms of the pilots we are taking with Pava and pepper spray. And this is because everybody must understand that safety, security and decency do not get in the way of educational purposeful activity, but they are the foundation without which purposeful activity cannot take place. If we are to work with prisoners, if we are to reduce reoffending, we must make sure that through this legislation, for prison officers and other emergency services, we show that we respect their honour, their dignity as public servants, that we appreciate the service they do on our behalf, that we express the deep gratitude that we feel for everything that they do, and that we show in every single act that we take, and in this very important legislation which will double the maximum sentence for an attack on our emergency service officers, that an attack on them is an attack on us, an attack on the police, an attack on the fire service, an attack on health workers, an attack on emergency workers, and above all, in the couple of minutes I had, an attack on the prison officers, that too often forgotten service, who do such extraordinary work on behalf of the public.